as embodied in my person. He did ask some questions. He did make some contributions on basic issues and gave certain directives that we are working on ensuring that those directives are complied with. And he took our time to thank them personally for their commitment, for their patriotism, and for their dedication to this cause. And the assurances that we got from Mr. President, I believe, would go a long way in helping the members of the committee become more determined and more resolute in the pursuit of this thing.
Maybe some of the new presidential directives to the task force?
More aggressive tracing, tracking, and isolation of those infected or those that have shown symptoms, testing to break the chain of any community transmission. I can assure you that there won't be transmission. There will definitely be transmission, but if we are able to get ahead of the transmission, then we can deal with it decisively.
Worried over how the nation's economy will operate in the prevailing situation, President Muhammadu Buhari directed a task force to work with other critical stakeholders towards ensuring that the adverse effect of COVID-19 on farming in particular is minimized to the barest minimum.
Our people need to go back to their farms so that we are able to raise sufficient food for the people of the country. I mean, the strength of a nation is in its ability to feed itself. Once we are able to deal with issues of shortages of food and the rest of it, these other problems, we would overcome them.
During the engagement, both the president and members of the task force harped on the need for more cooperation, patience and understanding by Nigerians as efforts are intensified towards bringing to an end this unprecedented calamity.
The measures that are being taken are not punitive anyway. These are measures that are meant to secure the lives and the wealth of our people. Like Mr. President said, it is not a joke. It is a very, very serious issue. There's no time to play games. We are dealing with an unseen enemy that is vicious, that spreads fast, and that is not a respect of any protocol. So our people will need to understand that everything that Mr. President has put in place is for the good of our people and of our nation. And collectively, I believe, if we cooperate with the government and the processes and the protocols that have been put in place, I can assure you that we will be able to break the transmission and flatten the curve.
The chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, said although adequate preparations have been made for the worst-case scenario at the instance of President Muhammadu Buhari, looking at situations in other parts of the world, it is the president's prayer that such facilities are never put to use for the coronavirus pandemic. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, Nta2 News.
Now, meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has granted audience to the presiding officers of the National Assembly in furtherance of his strategic engagement with critical stakeholders towards controlling and containing the coronavirus pandemic in the country. Senate President Ahmed Lawan, who spoke to newsmen after the meeting, maintained that both the executive and the legislature are on the same page regarding efforts at tackling the health challenge and resultant impact on the populace. Again, State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
Senate President Ahmed Lawan and Speaker Femi Bajabiamila were in the State House to compare notes with President Muhammadu Buhari on various issues regarding the fight against COVID-19 in the country. This is a follow-up to the series of engagements the leadership of the National Assembly had with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, ministers and other stakeholders coordinating efforts at tackling the global pandemic and providing succor to the nation's poor and most vulnerable. Speaking to newsmen after the closed-door meeting, Senate President Ahmed Lawan said addressing possible challenges to be confronted by Nigeria post-COVID-19 were also discussed.
This time, what is utmost to us is to ensure that Nigerians get succor, get relief, and we will do everything possible to ensure that there is equity, there is fairness, there is justice in the distribution of any support, whether it is a relief package or indeed any support in terms of fighting COVID-19 in the states of the Federation. The President has taken the right decision by approving an additional 1 million families to be included in this social register, and I believe that in the next few weeks the Nigerian people will see a difference in the implementation fully and properly, efficiently and prudently.
Speaker Femi Bajabiamila on his part said the engagement with the President is a further demonstration of their commitment towards maintaining synergy in addressing issues relating to the welfare, well-being and security of Nigerians.
The broadcast yesterday was worked well. There were added incentives. What is imperative right now is that when you ask people to stay at home, you must make that home a little bit more comfortable for them. Make sure the light is constant for those 2 months. It's a stimulus. Give it to people free of charge for 2 months so that they'll be able to stay at home more conveniently. It may be a tough sell, but where there's a will, there's a way.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, who also met the President, gives an insight into the presidential approval for the capture of additional 1 million households in the social register.
We are going to focus more now on the urban poor. These are people who depend on the informal sector to, earn their livelihood. They are daily wage earners, and these are the people that we are really going to focus more on, as well as people living with disabilities.
The minister announced plans to hand over the distribution of food items as palliatives for the poor and the most vulnerable to the state governments. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, Nta2 News.
Still on COVID-19, the European Union has announced a donation of 50 million euro to Nigeria in support of efforts at containing the coronavirus pandemic. The amount, equivalent of 21 billion naira, is to be channeled through the UN COVID-19 Basket Fund. The European Union ambassador to Nigeria, Nta2 Carlson, made this known during a solidarity visit to President Muhammadu Buhari.
To upfront congratulate you on a very powerful address to the nation and commend you indeed for the bold measures that you have taken, necessary measures, no doubt.
The European Union ambassador Carlson emphasized clearly heard President Buhari's call for assistance, and this swift reaction is indeed a demonstration of true partnership. The 50 million euro donation to Nigeria, he said, is by far the largest single grant contribution so far provided by the EU anywhere outside Europe.
COVID-19 must be fought globally. The EU support is focused on the people most at risk. Africa and Nigeria are vital priorities and must not be forgotten or left alone. Now more than ever, we want to show solidarity with our partners. The EU solidarity with Nigeria at this momentous time will save lives. It will also ensure that we protect the gains of the Sustainable Development Goals while safeguarding the livelihoods of the most vulnerable, especially women and girls.
The only desire of the European Union, Mr. Carlson explained, is to be properly guided by President Buhari and genuinely support his vision, priorities and policies towards addressing the situation.
We wish to commend you thoroughly, Your Excellency, for taking bold measures to limit the spreading of the virus, flattening the curve, reducing the adverse economic effects and increasing availability of testing and treatment. Nobody and no country can fight this scourge alone. I personally think that we have never before had a better partnership with Nigeria than under these difficult circumstances. The EU had already provided 1.2 million euros to UNICEF for the COVID action of the government.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who commended the European Union for the gesture, said the donation will go a long way in supporting Nigeria's efforts at controlling and containing the global pandemic, as well as revitalizing the national health systems.
I'm indeed touched and grateful that the European Union still has the vision and foresight to remember its friends, partners and allies across the world. This brotherly support will save millions of lives. Nigeria will remain grateful for generations to come.
Nigeria, President Buhari maintained, has done a lot in the fight against COVID-19, and efforts are now focused on preventing community spread.
I want to assure you, in this fight, Nigerians are united. And by the grace of God and the continued support from our partners, we will succeed.
The president used the occasion to express sincere condolences of the government and people of Nigeria to EU member countries and families who lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, expressing confidence that the global community will emerge stronger from this tragedy. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, Nta2 News.
And in Lagos, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has issued a strong warning to defaulters who flout the lockdown order of President Muhammadu Buhari and criminals who have used it as an opportunity to perpetrate crime, saying that they will have themselves to blame if caught in the act. Governor Sanwo-Olu made this known while briefing journalists after the State Security Council meeting at the Lagos State Government House Marina. Nta2 Sula reports.
Babajide Sanwo-Olu enjoined residents to comply with the federal government's extension of the Restriction of Movement Directive and maintain law and order in the state, adding that the COVID-19 test and treatment in the state is free.
One of our key responsibilities as an administration is the safety and security of life and property of all our citizens, and we will not abandon this responsibility at any time.
The governor stated that 9 more patients have been discharged from the Yaba isolation facility to join society.
I also cannot end this very short speech without thanking Mr. President, President Muhammadu Buhari, and the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and the chairman and members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 for their strong leadership and the exceptional support they've given to us.
The governor assured residents that government would partner with local vendors in various communities in the state to provide cooked meals for them, adding that the restriction of movement is a tough decision but a necessary step in the battle for survival against the COVID-19 pandemic. In Lagos, Nusa Osula, Nta2 News.
Now, the Controller General of Nigeria Immigration Service, Muhammad Babandede, has tested negative for COVID-19 twice after self-isolation. A statement by the Service Public Relations Officer, DSI Sunday James, indicates that the DCGI thanked all Nigerians for their prayers and well wishes during these trying times. He enjoined Nigerians to keep faith and adhere strictly to medical and healthcare advisories, including social distancing, as well as safe, healthy practices of washing of hands with soap, use of sanitizers, face masks, and every other professional advice for the good and well-being of all. Now, the federal government's goal of efficient port operations to stimulate economic activities during COVID-19 lockdown is facing challenges, as some key players are decrying the failure of terminal operators and shipping companies to fast-track the clearance of cargoes and containers. Michael Olaleye reports.
In recognition of the pressure the COVID-19 pandemic is imposing on businesses, some palliative measures were announced to aid the operations of port users. These include suspension of collection of demurrage and storage fees on consignment already at the seaports for an initial 21 days effective from 23rd of last month. It was a development that brought a hope of great relief, but these port users and forwarders are saying that 3 weeks since the directive was issued, these fees are still being paid.
Since the regulators made it very clear that they should not collect
demurrages from freight forwarders. I don't know the reason why they are collecting the demurrage. For what?
Michael Odo Emina is a freight forwarder. Apart from incurring expenses due to the non-implementation of the demurrage waiver, he said there was still delay in getting shipping companies to clear goods already paid for. This is in addition to the inability of most banks within the port community to operate optimally.
The issue is not even collecting that charges. They're collecting without the service delivery. For you to get a debit note, it will take you nothing less than 2 weeks.
And without the receipt of payment, you cannot go on for easy release. And at the end of the day, for that same 2 weeks, they will charge you detention.
The Consumer Affairs arm of the Nigerian Shippers Council says it is aware of the frustration encountered at issuing clearance receipts.
When there is a service failure, the onus lies on the receiver of the service to come and report to the Nigerian Shippers Council. We are not spirit. It is only when you report to us, that we can attend to your problem. And there are some effort being put in place to ensure that the delay, is being eradicated.
Port users are optimistic that the prompt resolution of these challenges will help the industry fulfill its mandate in line with the presidential order during the lockdown. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, Nta2 News.
Now to issues of compliance. The social distancing measure has been adopted by many countries of the world to curtail the spread of COVID-19. While in Mecca, in Saudi Arabia, is under lockdown, Christians across the globe could not perform the holy pilgrimage to Jerusalem during the Easter. However, in Lagos State, some adherents of the two major religions are flouting the social distancing order by government. Khadijat Akumbi reports.
From strict adherence to proper personal hygiene, use of sanitizer, gloves and face mask, social distancing has been proven to be one of the most effective measures to curtail the spread of COVID-19. Disregard for social distancing in some countries has led to dire consequences where many of the citizens are paying the supreme price on a daily basis. This is why some stakeholders in Lagos are worried over the disregard for social distancing by some residents of Lagos. The lockdown directive imposed on Lagos, Ogun and the Federal Capital Territory, which has also been adopted by many states across the Federation, is to encourage residents to stay at home and observe social distancing, among other preventive measures, to curtail the spread of COVID-19. Churches and mosques were also banned from congregational prayers. Following reports that some churches and mosques are flouting the social distancing directive in some parts of Lagos, the state chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria (CAN), and the chief imam of Lagos Central Mosque cautioned the adherents to do the needful in their own interest and the well-being of the society.
Unfortunately, people are not exposed to what is happening around the world. So for us, we should be thanking God that we have a government that is responsible. The Bible commands us that we must obey the authority that rules over our nation, that rules over us.
During the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he told people, pray at home, which the government too has encouraged us, they've appealed to us for now. This is a temporary measure.
Another worrisome development is the method of sharing food items to cushion the effects of the lockdown on residents, where there is total disregard for social distancing measure.
Flaunting the social distance rule is not only putting the individual at risk, but the individual is also putting his or her loved ones at risk of contacting the COVID-19 disease.
For Nigeria to succeed in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic, it is imperative for all hands to be on deck to achieve the desired result. In Lagos, Khadijat Akumbi, Nta2 News.
Thank you, Khadijat. This is Nta2 News at this hour. We'll pause here for a break. The news continues shortly.
Ṣé fífi èrí pawọ́ lè dáàbò bò lọ́wọ́ coronavirus? Àwọn fídíò kan ti di tọ́rọ́ fún kálẹ̀ lórí ayélujára pé fífi èrí pawọ́ rẹ̀ lè dáàbò bò lọ́wọ́ coronavirus. Èyí kì í ṣe òótọ́ rárá. Fífi èrí pawọ́ tàbí inú rẹ kò lè dènà àrùn yìí rárá. Kódà àpọ̀jù orí ní àtẹ́lẹwọ́ tàbí ìwòmú lè fa kòkòrò àìfojúrí mọ́ra. Ẹ dákun, ẹ máa fọ ọwọ́ yín tàbí lo sanitizer tó ní èròjà àkọ́ọ̀lù nínú ká tó dágbére fúnra wa. Ìmọ̀ràn wa tòní rèé: tí o bá lọ sí ilé ìtajà, rí dájú pé o kò fi ọwọ́ lásán kan ohun tí o bá fẹ́ rà o lè lo òde àpò ìrajà tó o mú dání tàbí ìbọ̀wọ́ láti mú tàbí nǹkan tí o fẹ́ rà wò. Ẹ máa fọ ọwọ́ yín. Àlàáfíà wa kò ní di fíafíà o. A ó tún máa ríra lọ́jọ́ mìíràn.
Welcome back. Now to entertainment. Burna Boy breaks record on streaming as centenarian war veteran raises fund to support fight against COVID-19. Adeola Komiakere has details of these and more on Entertainment News.
Hello and thank you for joining us on our Entertainment News segment. Nigerian singer Damini Ogulu, with the stage name Burna Boy, is said to have broken another record as his African Giants track becomes the most streamed African album on Spotify. Reports say it is the first African album to achieve such feat, with over 200 million streams to its credit. As the coronavirus pandemic continued to bite hard on the nation's economy, including the entertainment industry, more Nigerian filmmakers are now opting to premiere their movies on live streaming. Kayode Kasum is the latest addition, as his critically acclaimed feature film, Ogabolaji, is streaming live on YouTube. The film is about a middle-aged singer who lives with his mother and dreams of fame through his high live music until he encounters a 7-year-old girl.
Now to sports with Kene Imabodike.
Good news for Nigeria sport. Despite coronavirus pandemic, our certificated national badminton umpire Naomi Adeoyin Oyiloye has been upgraded to Badminton Confederation of Africa BCA certificated umpire, the first for Nigeria since 2000. This followed the BCA umpire's assessment in Casablanca, Morocco during the African Games in August 2019. Meanwhile, as Nigeria continues the battle against coronavirus, sports administrators have called on stakeholders to remain hopeful of brighter days ahead. Some respondents in Abuja believe that various federations will regain the losses of the period, even as they advocate sustenance of measures against the pandemic.
As a federation, we are talking and thinking and planning on ways that we can raise some funds and support some of them, maybe through their coaches or where they play and clubs. You know, we're going to be doing that from the local areas where they play.
To quickly go back to our status, we've already qualified for the Olympics, though we still have some slots of qualification to participate. That is the most important and immediate thing to face immediately after the COVID-19.
In football, fans are urging Super Eagles technical advisor Gennett Rowe to accept the conditions put forward by the Nigerian Football Federation (NFF) in the wake of a possible renewal of his contract for the good of the national team as well as grassroots development.
He's supposed to stay in the country so that he can train the people and they can work.
When they pay him in Naira, even when dollar is fluctuating, it won't have any impact on our economy.
NFF plans to present the contract papers to Gennett Rowe on Thursday. With sports update, Kenan Ima Abodike, NTA News.
And on that sporting note, we end the Nta2 News at this hour. Thank you for watching. I am Jennifer Igwe. Stay safe.